There's two sides to this story, and this is what you talk about fairness. So let's mention, for example, the economic impact that shows, our own statistics, South Africa show, that each immigrant that is having a business here employs at least 3 to 4.
Well, I'm not a black person, but what I can see is that foreigners are being used as a scapegoat for terrible management of this country.
South Africans, stop misbehaving. I'm going to try to be nice to you, but I'm really upset at black people. Not black Africans, black South Africans. Because really, you're going to blame people who make up 3 to 4% of the population.
Well, guys, tension. The white South Africans are not holding it back. They are finally fired back at the black South Africans. You cannot be chasing away all foreigners from your country and you want to stay, because according to these white South Africans, they said the black South Africans are also foreigners in South Africa because they do not owe any land or any businesses in South Africa. According to them, they said the white South Africans literally made South Africa what it is today without the contribution of the black South Africans. Jacinta and her crew are seen panicking because very soon the white South Africans are taking over South Africa. Guys, are you shouting Aibo in the comment section, or what do you have to say? Let's take a look at some of the videos. They'll be right back.
I'm really upset at black people. Not black Africans, black South Africans. Because really, you're going to blame people who make up 3 to 4% of the population but have very little wealth, influence and land in the country. And you're not going to blame the 7% of white people who control 70% of the wealth and land and power in the country. And just a reminder, in 1994, it was closer to 90%. You see, we whites trained you so well. Let the colorist propaganda work. Fight each other. And the white man keeps winning at your expense. Just as a reminder, Ghanaians never colonized you. Basotho sa Lesotho didn't create apartheid, but, they worked alongside your grandfathers and uncles in the mines. Nigerians did not take the best land for themselves and leave you with the Bantustans. White people did. But your fellow Africans were brutalized, exploited, abused, and treated less than, just like you. There's a reason why this man was unalived, because Ntatehane understood that political freedom means nothing without economic freedom to back it up. Why do you think you are fighting foreigners? Stop fighting the foreigners and understand, if you want real change, you have to stand up against the real problem. White people.
There's two sides to this story, and this is what you talk about fairness. So let's mention, for example, the economic impact that shows, our own statistics, South Africa show, that each immigrant that is having a business here employs at least 3 to 4 people, contributes taxes. Nobody ever talks about that. We never talk about the dysfunctionality of home affairs in terms of its documentation crisis, where most people who are deemed, quote, illegal are simply without documentation. We don't talk about the 4 million South African citizens who are undocumented, who have to wait years for their documentation. What about them? It's a documentation crisis. It's a systemic crisis. And what we're saying is, we recognize, I wonder why, for example, there was no mention of the Kopanang African Xenophobia March, which happened 2 weeks ago in this very city with hundreds and hundreds of people with the different kind of message. We don't talk about these things. So we're creating a very similar kind of thing to the United States, which is this anger that is then directed towards those who, by the way, built this city that we're very much in. Migrants built this city from Mozambique and Zimbabwe, miners who worked here, who created much of the wealth of the city we live in. And now we're trying to blame them for all of these ills, when in fact, if we start looking at the factual information about joblessness, there's no statistical evidence, there's no evidence to suggest the foreign nationals are taking away many jobs. What we have is a macroeconomic policy that basically privileges corporate capital and big investments and doesn't support small-scale township economies. So if, for example, you even kick out all the spaza shop owners tomorrow and say all the foreign nationals are in, and every single South African citizen, would those small-scale businesses survive because of our own policies? No. You ask a South African spaza shop owner, they're facing exactly the same problems. So instead of making this an immigration foreign citizen issue, we should make it a governance issue, a policy issue, and politicians have a lot to answer for, because that's where people are protesting. Water, electricity, education, health, housing. Those can't be blamed on foreign nationals who make up, by the way, less than 4% of our population.
South Africans, stop misbehaving. I'm going to try to be nice to you, but you see, I'm going to talk my mind as well. You see, imagine a foreign investor is looking at your country. A foreign investor is a man with money. He's looking at South Africa. Or a woman with money looking at your country and saying, you know what, I want to invest in South Africa. He opens the television, he looks at the news, and he sees you misbehaving like that. What comes to his mind? Lack of security, lack of financial stability,
lack of resources, lack of mind, would I want to come and invest in your country? No, I'm seeing nonsense on television. I'm seeing nonsense on social media, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on X, on whatever nonsense. Omo, what are you doing? You're misbehaving. Oh. The world is looking at you. Oh. It's your future. It's your children's future. If the foreigners go, who's going to run business for you? Learn from them before you kick them out. Talk your mind, Charlie.
With South Africans and other Africans on illegal immigrants has shown me something dark that I wasn't aware of before. I never understood the extent to which the entire continent relies on South Africa. I have always underestimated the dependency on South Africa until South Africa decided to start enforcing its own immigration laws, as they should. The way Africa stood up took me by surprise. Africa never stood up for anything the way it stood up against South Africa enforcing its own laws, not even against colonization. So I started thinking about this situation and one thing became clear. Africa had big plans for South Africa. I imagine a lot of Africans grow up dreaming of being successful in their own country. But if that doesn't work out, they know they can just go to South Africa as a backup plan. Ever since you were born, these were your options. And now you hear that option 2 is being threatened and you no longer have plan B. And if you fail in your own country, that's it. You are finished. So there will be some resistance within you. Even if you understand deep down that South Africa has a right to enforce its own laws, you will still find a way and a reason to fight them. You may even claim that they are hurting people or they are doing stuff to people. Basically claim anything just to justify your fighting South Africans. Because you know that if you tell the truth and just say that you are really against South Africa enforcing its own laws, people will look at you and see the hypocrite that you are, fighting to benefit from the destruction of another country. So you fabricate stories and accusations that you can use to justify why you are fighting South Africans. But you have to understand that while South Africa may be plan B for other Africans, South Africans don't have a plan B. This is it for them. They fail here, that's it. They're finished. So it's only fair that you also start having your own country as your only plan. And if you know that your country is all you have, you will start channeling all your energy towards fighting those who are destroying your country instead of fighting South Africans. Guys, fighting South Africa won't help you. You have no equal rights and privileges in South Africa. You are not a citizen. South Africa's government only prioritizes South Africans' needs. That's why you started to see them arresting illegal immigrants soon as the marches started. Because your pressure doesn't matter to the South African government. Only the pressure coming from South African citizens counts. Your pressure only works in your own country where you are a citizen. So you are focusing all your energy where it won't yield any results. Think about it. Between your voice and the voice of South Africans in South Africa, whose voice do you think matters? Yours? Guys, learn to use your resources strategically. Channel your resources where they will make a positive impact in your life. The South African government has no obligation to do anything for you. Focus on yours. Coming back to the reaction from other Africans, it showed me that the whole continent's plans revolved around South Africa. And that's dangerous. Imagine having a neighbor that likes to borrow your stuff. And it gets to a point where they start including your stuff in their own budget. At that stage, they no longer see your help as help. They see your things as theirs. They are entitled to your things now. Because your help has been given for so long, it's now expected to last forever. Until one day your own children start to realize that sharing stuff with neighbors compromises their needs. They put pressure on you to stop, and you stop. Can you imagine the reaction from the neighbors? With so much of their budget depending on your belongings and help. At this stage, even if they understand that your children have a point, they will still find a way to fight them. They may fabricate stories they can use as an excuse to continue fighting them. They won't say we are fighting your children because they're demanding priority in their own house. No, because that's a valid reason and they will look like hypocrites fighting them for such a logical reason. So they will fabricate another reason they can use as an excuse to fight them. They may say, your children are beating me. Or your children insulted me. They're evil. Hey everyone, let's cancel that house. I'm going to the police called African Union. Hey AU, cancel them. The AU will say, for what? For demanding priority in their own house? No, for beating me or insulting me. So South Africans, you do not understand why you keep repeating yourselves and explaining that you only want implementation of your own immigration laws. These guys know what you want. They're still in shock and denial. They can't accept this new reality. They know what you're saying. When I keep moving forward, don't stop. The only way to deal with this type of hypocrisy is to never stop. Keep moving ahead with plans. After a few months and years, they will realize that plan B is gone. They will adjust. And strangely, you will hear them start to agree with you as their emotions settled into their new reality. It's nothing personal. It's just human nature. Don't entertain it. Keep moving.
White people in South Africa don't know how to talk about race and have allowed themselves to be bullied over the last 30 years. And dis hoekom jou vaderland het na die honde toe gegaan. But here's the thing, too many of you white people are scared of being called racist. And that's the exact reason our country has gone down the drain, because you are too scared of being labeled a racist and holding this government accountable. Because you don't want to criticize a black government. You mustn't allow that. We mustn't allow that as a country. Valid criticism, being posited and libeled against this government by our white counterparts, has been invalidated and discredited, not based off substance or merit, but purely because of the skin color of the person voicing that criticism. What a nonsense. But here's what I want white people to understand, because I'm trying to help you here, is that this race tool has been weaponized as a way to silence dissent and opposition. Because when somebody deploys the race card, they're relinquishing themselves of any accountability by crying foul, by playing the victim, and they relinquish themselves of any responsibility of rebutting your claims on an intellectual level by merely crying racism. White people are the most educated section of our population today. We need your voice.
So guys, it won't be long that the white South Africans will start, claiming everything in South Africa. You'll be surprised that this propaganda, this thing that is currently happening in South Africa, the unrest, the tension, is just a means to chase away the black people from South Africa, so that the white people can actually do take over. I may be wrong, I may be right, but that is just what I'm thinking out loud that is going to happen. And Jacinta and her crew, they're going to regret it. They are going to actually regret it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video, share, and please subscribe to the channel.